Welcome to the Leadership Zone. I'm your host, Sheila Walsh, Leadership Development Specialist, Coach and Researcher. For those of us who prefer a more facilitative or collaborative approach to leadership, you may find that there are times where you aren't taking up your power and fulfilling your role effectively because you're more comfortable in the facilitative space than moving into the space in which you utilise your power. So in this episode, we're going to think about the journey and the assessment that's needed to be a collaborative leader. What do I mean by assessment? Well, first and foremost, before we enter into any group or into any process in which we use a collaborative approach, we have to understand the rules of engagement as they currently stand. We also have to understand how power is being shared, competed, resourced. We need to understand how people in the room understand power and how they are using power within those settings. Without that, our attempts to be collaborative could be used against us or against other people. One thing that came up recently when I was speaking to a number of leaders trying to develop more of a collaborative approach to their leadership was, how do you use leadership in settings where somebody is clearly abusing their power? Or the environment itself has facilitated an abuse of power for a period of time? And the answer is you don't. Using collaborative approaches is to share power. And if you enter into an environment or a system that uses power against people, then starting with a collaborative approach may not be effective. That may be your long-term aim, but that may not be an effective place to start. The other challenge that arises with collaborative leadership is leaders not being able to know when to make a decision or how to make a decision because they are used to being part of the team collaborating. In a leadership role, your role is to look forward, to set your sights ahead of your team and to help your team move forward. So this means at some point you will have to put your own position front and centre. One of the ways that I support leaders to think about this a bit more strategically is to set up a set of values and principles that they make decisions on, so that in any given moment, they aren't being overly influenced by who is sharing what ideas or by a personal opinion. Instead, they may be using organisational mission or strategy, organisational values, you might be using team values, or you might be using professional principles. By having this set of thinking ready to go in decision making, you start to role model good decision making, not based on the best answer, but based on taking into consideration the multiple influences in your decision, such as the principles, the values, the strategy, the mission, the industry or professional norms. You then also have to think about how you are addressing people misusing power within the setting. Is everybody in the setting struggling to be seen and to feel in control and dominating and managing anxiety? If this is happening, then it's very hard to move forward as a team collaboratively. First, we have to address the process. What is happening to people in this room before we can get back on task, which is coming up with solutions, answers, or decisions? So in collaborative leadership, you've got to keep your eye on the process. Where are the group right now? How are they feeling? What are they doing? What is happening with power? And the task. What are we coming together to achieve? What's our purpose? How do I help the group move back onto purpose? But collaborative leadership is not one size fits all, and we have to think about when and how we use it, taking into account the multiple needs that are in the situation, the needs of participants, the needs you have as a leader to negotiate between maybe more senior desires and your direct reports' desires. You also have to consider resources and unmet needs of the organisation and people, as well as fears and concerns. Leadership is as much about supporting people to move forward as it is pointing to the future goal. So when you're thinking about collaborative leadership, remember that you must always do an assessment of the process. Where are people at and what do they need? As well as an assessment of the task. What are we trying to achieve together? I hope that is helpful. I'd love to hear from you, and you'll see different contacts for me in the show notes. Thanks for being with me. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Zone. We can continue this conversation over on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is @SheilaWalsh1, or at LinkedIn, you'll find me under Sheila Walsh. To book a free consultation to discuss your leadership needs or the leadership development needs of your organisation, simply visit my website www.sheilawalsh.com and book a free leadership consultation. I look forward to hearing from you.